Hey everybody, Jason here from iAnimate. Hopefully you're all doing fantastic this week. So in this week's snippet, we actually reached 50 episodes, right? So we're going to do something special. We're going to do a full-on demo on how I approach quad walks. So when I approach four-legged characters, now it's been about a year since I actually did a four-legged walk, but I've designed my character here. We're going to do it in 2D. So I want to just figure out exactly what we're doing, and it'll show you guys how I approach it. So in a quad walk, and the idea of the quad walk is basically when you're in a contact position on the back, you're going to be in a passing position on the front, and the back legs sort of release the front legs, right? So if you think about, if we're contacting here, contact position here, this foot came down and released this foot that's up in the air, right? So this foot took off, and it took off from about this position here, right? Like if it was on the ground. We're going to do this on the spot, like as if he's walking on a treadmill. So this is sort of like, if we're thinking about contact position here, this is not the squash position. Squash position where he takes the weight is right after this position. So this is about halfway, right? And then this is after the squash. So it's about halfway as well. So we're sort of like, straight across. I mean, if we were thinking about like the foot, coming down and this being like a pillar, it's already taken the weight and starting to come up towards the overshoot position. So it's maybe slightly higher than halfway. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is do the opposite of this, right? For the other side. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and do, let's see. So I'm going to start off with a direct timing here of about a second per walk step. So it's not like a super fast walk and it's not a super slow walk. He's not sneaking, right? And the slower your animal gets, like if you go to like a lion or an elephant or, even bigger, the slower the actual animal is, the more feet they're going to have on the ground at once. So there is a point in this walk where two legs will be up in the air. But if this character was sneaking, it would be down to one, so like one foot will come down, boo, boo, and release the next one. This one, they'll sort of like come forward and then release. So there is a point where both feet are off the ground on the same side. And then, like I say, like the slower the animal is, it will actually have more feet on the ground. Okay. So let's go ahead and jump onto frame 13, which is sort of like the halfway mark, right? So I'm going to go and turn on my in-betweens here, and I'm just going to use previous on this. So in-betweening, I'm just going to see my previous frame as a ghosted image. So I'm using Digital Flipbook for this, for anybody who wants to know. So the opposite of this. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and draw like the front leg here. When I say the front leg, I mean in perspective. So it's actually his rear leg, but we're drawing it more in front now. So it's more like his right rear leg. Okay, will be like this. Okay, we're going to drill this nice and fast just so we can figure out how we're going to do this, right? And then this is sort of like the back of the paw on his left rear side. Okay, I'm not going to worry about the tail yet because that's sort of like a secondary action that we can figure out. Okay, and the body's going to be basically around the same pose. And then here, this will be his front right leg. Sort of up in the air like this, bent back, and then this part is sort of overlapping backwards like this. Okay. And then that's the far leg there. So I'm going to shade in the far leg, okay, just so we don't get confused. Okay, and then the head, we'll keep it in the same position, right? Again, just keeping it nice and fast. So let me just figure out the technique here, okay? Okay, just going to double click in there. Okay, now so we can flip back and forwards here so we can kind of see what's going on, right? So now we've got like contact in the back, passing in the front. Okay, now we're going to do a breakdown, right? So we're going to go to frame 7 here, right? So now we're going to do basically the opposite of this, right? So now this will be a contact on the front and there'll be a passing on the back. Okay, so coming from here, which is the previous frame, so this back leg here will be coming back to around here. Okay, And then this leg is going to be coming forward. So this leg is going to be up in the air, sort of as if like I'm planting from this foot to that foot, right? I'm going to draw sort of like a breakdown here of how this foot might come up in the air. So if it's not going to be a super cartoony walk, so we're just going to draw it as if like this is fairly natural. Okay. So now this leg is coming up, the hip is coming up slightly, right? Okay. And then this is going to be slightly down, right? But so like the passive position is sort of like the pillar. So imagine like this foot is going to be coming back over to here somewhere. Okay. So we go over to here, draw this back down to here. Keeping it fairly straight. Okay. He's still supporting the weight of his body, right? Keeping it fairly straight like this, okay? And then this foot's coming down, okay? Give him a nice stretch forward here. Maybe slightly more. Like I said, it's been about a year since I've done a four-legged walk, so it's always good to sort of refresh your memory on what you've got in your tool belt as far as animation goes. You know, even if you don't clean it up or do it, in full on CG, at least you're remembering your techniques. Okay. Okay, good. And then this far leg, like I said, is sort of behind here. Okay. We'll shade it in a little bit. Okay, just so we know where it is, right? Okay, something like that. Okay. And then again, it's slightly lower, right? So not a huge amount. Okay, so it's going to be somewhere here, ever so slightly. If you drew it in the same spot, I'd be like, yeah, it's totally fine. I'm going to keep it at basically the same angle here for now, right? And then I might add some overlap later on, but let's keep this fairly natural for now. Okay. Okay, so now we've got contact in the front, passing in the back. Okay. Great. Now we're going to do the opposite of this. Okay, so now this will be in front, right? So this would be his rear back leg, sort of here. Okay, and then the other one will be up in the air, right? Overlapping back. Okay. Again, the sort of like the hip is sort of coming up slightly, right? Not a huge amount. Okay. And then we're going to have the opposite here, right? So this now will be his front right leg coming forward, reaching forward. Like this, right? And then this will be. So even if I'm doing this in CG, this is the technique that I will use if I'm doing a cycle on the spot. I'll start off with my contacts and my passing because they're the most important keys, right? And I'll leave the head just like this because we'll probably put in a little overlap on this, you know. Okay, good. I think that's clear enough. All right, now what we're going to do is I'm going to copy this over this one here. So I'm going to go edit, copy, and paste that sort of over here. So it'll be sort of halfway between these two. So it'll be around frame 19. Oops. Paste. Okay. And then this one, I'm going to clear cell. Are you sure? Yes. Boom. Okay. Okay, so we've got our keys and our breakdown here, right? So I'm just going to flip through here, make sure we've got everything we need. Okay. Let me just clean this drawing up a little bit, just so we can really see that connection. Okay. Get that reach there, then we'll shade in this far arm here. Okay, just make sure we got that. It's slightly lower here. Okay. Okay, good. Right now, so let's start to do our breakdowns between those keys, right? So let's go ahead. So in here, now we're looking from this passing position over to this pose here, right? So we're going to do the reach on this position here, right? So let's go ahead. So on here, this foot's going to come forward and then come down, right? So let me show previous and next so we can really see where we're aiming for. So here, this foot's going to come over and then sort of land down in here, right? So we'll kind of do this sort of a thing, right? Where we'll get a little bit of a reach like this, okay? And then he'll plant down, right? So again, if this was more cartoony, might flip over, right? Kind of flip over the heel, you know, so that the foot might be up like this, but we're going to keep it sort of a little bit more natural, okay? Just so we can really get to see like the technique here. Okay, so a little reach there. Okay, and then this foot's basically an in between, right between these two. So it's going to be fairly evenly paced, right? As if like you're on a constant treadmill. Okay. Okay. And now this is sort of like the up position, right? So we're going to actually go, you know, like in a 2D or in a biped walk, not a 2D, a two-legged walk, a biped walk. And there's an overshoot position. So like this is the passing pose. And then in the biped walk, we go up slightly higher. So I'm actually going to do a little bit of that here too, just slightly higher. Not a, like, again, not a huge amount, right? So just like to there, right? Just a slight overshoot before we start coming down to the contact. And the only reason I do this is because it gives my character just a little bit of weight, because he's going to come down from there to the contact and then down a little further to the squash, right? So I can kind of feel a little bit more weight in here, okay? So this would be like I'm going to kind of like OS, overshoot here, right? And then this is sort of like the reach, okay? And then on the back, we're going to be right after the contact, I'm going to go right to the squash, right? So in between here and here. So the foot's going to come back at basically the same rate. Okay, so we'll have that. And then we'll have a squash, right? So again, I'm not gonna overdo it. Just gonna have enough so you can really kind of see that he actually takes the weight, right? So I have a little bit of a down here, okay? So basically, like we'll have a slight angle like this to the body, right? Where he'll start to kind of raise up a little bit, right? So it'd be low on the back and up on the front. Okay, so this will be the far leg here. Okay, and then the other leg here is going to be taken off, right? So we're going to have this sort of takeoff position, right? So this foot will be starting to come forward, just coming off the ground. Again, this is sort of like on a moving platform, right? So the platform's going back this way. So the leg is actually going to be a little bit further back, right? So we'll have this sort of takeoff like this. Okay. Slight take of the weight. Okay. Okay, good. Now between 7 and 10. So now we're going to have this foot now is going to be coming back to here, this far leg on the rear side. So his left leg on the rear side is going to be coming over to there. Again, evenly timed, right? Because it's on that treadmill, right? Otherwise we'll get like a lot of slipping going on. So even in CG, like you almost put like your feet that are on the ground, like in linear mode, like it's just a straight, straight line. Okay, and then this foot's coming over here, and then it's going to reach forward to this position here, right? Let me, I'll turn off my in between just so it's a little clearer, so you guys can see it a little bit better. Okay. So we'll get this sort of reach coming on. So again, this is actually going to be like the overshoot on this side, right? So this would be slightly higher here, just so it can come down to the contact pose. So just slightly higher here. Okay. So we get that coming across and then landing down, right? Slightly higher. Okay. And then this will be a little lower on this side, right? Because they're going to be coming down to the squash position, right? So in here, let me turn on my previous and next again. So I can see sort of where the foot's going to be coming back to. So it's going to be somewhere around there, right? Because this is going to be where the front of the foot is, front of the foot, front of the foot. So somewhere around there. Okay. Now I'll turn it off again. Okay. So now, boom, a little squash down, slightly down. Don't go nuts on how much up and down you're going to put on here because it'll make it feel too cartoony. Okay, something like this. Okay, and then squash down. Squash down. Okay, and then this is now going to be coming off the ground here, right? So this foot's coming forward and releasing this foot. Okay, so now this foot's going to start to take off. So this is your point in your walk where both sides are off the ground just momentarily because he's not walking super fast, and it's not super slow, just sort of like a mid-range walk speed. Okay. So now we've got basically all the keys on this side done, right? So now we're going to do the opposite of these, right? So now I'm going to go ahead, go to number 5, like we did with our other, on the other side, like with the passing position. So we're going to do the opposite of this now, right? So this basically, so we've got a nice and even walk. So it's not going to be lower on one side. It's not going to look like he's limping, right? So just do the opposite of this, right? Try to imagine what it looks like from this side. Okay, and here. But if you're doing this in CG, you just do the opposite, right? Just reverse those attributes. Okay, so this will be sort of like the heel of the foot there, right? Okay, and then this will be the far side here. Okay, and then this will be the reach on this side. Okay. Keep this all pretty much the same, right? Like I say, because I don't want it to be odd on both sides, right? Okay. All right, now what I'm going to actually do is instead of copying this, I'm just going to drag it down this way, like I don't have to clear cells and all that kind of stuff, right? So just drop that down. Okay, so we've got that one. Okay, we already have that pose. So now we're going to do this one here. Okay, so the opposite of this one. Okay, so now this will be his rear right side. Okay, and then this will be the far side here. Again, I'm not doing like a super cartoony walk. This is more just to show you the technique on how to do something that's a little bit more naturalistic, a bit more natural. Okay, so now this will be the front right side now. And then this will be the far side. Kind of indicating his toes there, right? Okay. Keep his head somewhere around the same size here. Okay. Okay, now let's go ahead and drag this down, right? So I've got frame selected, drag it down here. Okay, so now we should have all of our keys. So he's go ahead and walk, right? And we can see the head going up and down as well, right? Okay, let's hit play, see how it feels. So I'm going to go all the way up to 24, right? And then we'll do an out there because we don't want to see that one frame twice. And there's our four-legged walk. Cool. Now, if I was going to do some overlap on this, right, I would figure out where my top is and where the bottom is and what the attitude of the dog is, right? So we've got like, this is really the top here, right? So if I say, okay, that's our top view, our top of the arc, right? The apex of the movement, right? And we say that is the actual attitude right there. So I'll keep that there, right? Draw in the ear just so we can see where we're at, right? Okay, good. And now on here, we're going to be coming down from this position, right? So this is the contact pose. So we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of overlap here. Not much, right? Just a little bit of drag here. Okay, so this is sort of like the center right there. Like I don't want this to go into cartoon land, right? Just a little bit like this. Okay, good. A little bit of drag there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is actually copy this. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this and copy it. And I'm going to go to the bottom of the arc, right? So this is basically our squash position, right? So in here, I'm going to erase this and paste it right there. Okay. And then this is going to be the lower position, right? So this would be the squash. Okay. So the top and the bottom will be the same angle. Okay. So we'll have this little overlap there, reaches here. And then on the way back up, we're going to have a slight drag down. Okay. So your top and bottom will be at the same angle. Whatever the posture of the dog, whatever posture you're going to do for your walk, all the overlap is going to come from that position. Okay. So we have that. And now let's go ahead. So on here, I'm going to go ahead and copy that same position onto, say, 19, right? No, this position here. So it's 16. This will be so this is the overshoot on this side. This is the overshoot. 16 is the one we're going to copy it onto. Okay. So let's go ahead and erase this and paste it right there. Right. So this is our overshoot position again. Right. Okay. And then we're going to erase this one here because this is the one we're going to do like sort of a breakdown and have a little bit of drag. Okay. So it's coming down and then it's going to come up to there. Okay. So let's go ahead, show both previous and next. So we can kind of see our two drawings there, right? So now we're going to do the head sort of in the same spot, right? But it's going to be slightly angled down. Okay. So this is sort of like how we would do 2D animation. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to have a slight overlap. Okay, so slight drag. Basically, I'm just going to almost do it like straight across. Okay, so we have that little bit of a flip up, right? So now I'm going to turn off next. So I can kind of see where we're going, right? Sometimes when you see too many drawings on the screen at once, you get a little bit confused. Okay, so something like that. Okay, good. Now let's go ahead and copy these onto our other side, right? So now 7 here. Let's copy that. Copy that. And that will go onto 19 here. Okay, so I'm just going to erase this. So I basically want it to be the same up and down on both sides, right? Okay, and then we get the squash position here. So copy that. We'll put that here, right, onto the squash pose. Okay, so erase this. Paste that. Okay. And then this one's going to be on the way up. This is the one that we want our drag to be on, right? So 13. So let's copy that. And basically throw it over this one, okay? Paste. Okay, now let's go ahead and because this is 25 should be the same as 1, right? So I'm going to go ahead and copy this whole pose basically, right? Copy. Paste. Okay. And let's go ahead and I'm just going to erase the actual head here. Okay. And then grab the head from here. Copy. Paste. Okay. All right. So now let's go ahead and play. So now we should have like just a little bit of overlap on our head, right? So the basic idea is that the back legs come forward to release the front leg. So if the character's standing still, you can still go into a passing position on the front legs while the character's in sort of like a contact pose at the back, and then just start working into the walk, right? But the idea is that the back legs come forward and release the front leg of the same side. All right. All the very best, you guys. Take care, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.